What's going on? Today I've got one cool dude on the show. Jeff, man, what's going on? How are you, man, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Rob? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man, of course. Thank you for taking the time and hopping on with me. So what do you got going on? Anything exciting lately?
Well, I can tell you a little bit. I just published a book. I transformed my life, and I have a 50-mile trail race coming up in 2 weeks. So that's what I got
Oh,
going on in the world right now.
all right. We'll definitely dive into a bunch of that stuff. But before we do, Jeff, man, would you please give a little introduction about who you are, what you do, where you're at, and pretty much everything you got going on?
Sure. I published a book a couple months ago, and the book is my transformation story. 5 years ago, for context, I am 55 years old right now. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I was 49 years old, I was not in a good place in my life. I was overweight. I was basically an unhappy person, mad at the world, mad at my wife. My wife was even putting plans together to divorce me. I have 3 kids, just didn't have a good relationship with my kids, with my wife, with the world in general. And I kind of attribute that to living what I call the standard American lifestyle, which is wake up, go to work, go home, sit on the couch, drink a beer, watch TV, eat your bowl of ice cream before you go to bed, and do it all again the next day. So I was
Yeah.
living this just blah, blah life. It all started looking back. Hindsight is always a good thing. When I was 49 years old, I talked my wife into getting me a dog. We bring this little Vizsla in. His name's Duder.
Hmm.
And this all started when I first took Duder out for a walk. And then
Okay.
that walk turned into a walk the next day, turned into a walk the next day. So this daily routine of going for a walk every day with my dog is what was the trigger that started all of this. I spent the next year, then I hit 50, went into the whole, hey, I'm 50 years old, midlife crisis. What have I done with my life? All of this came up. But I really spent a lot of time exploring that while I was out walking my dog.
Hmm.
And over that year of walking my dog, 3 main things happened. One, I became aware that something was not right in my life. Just awareness. Just, okay, something's not right. I'm overweight. I'm having a hard time even walking for a half a mile. I'm not feeling good. My relationship with my wife's bad. Just that pure awareness. So I
Hmm.
explored that on these walks. The next thing that happened was I made a choice that something needed to change. I just made a choice. I didn't know what to do. It wasn't a specific choice. It was just, I choose to do something different with my life. And the third thing was I explored my why. Why do I need to do this? And that's critical. You have to have a reason. You have to have a purpose. You have to have a mission. Why? And it came down to my family, my wife, my kids, my grandkids. I have 4 grandkids. So that became my why. I needed to do something different. And then 51 rolled around and I went into what I call the do state and went to work and started doing things differently. I changed my lifestyle. I canceled my TV subscription, stopped watching TV, just stopped with the TV.
Hmm.
There's nothing of value there, I've discovered. So canceled that, kept walking every day. And as a side effect of all this, I lost 70 pounds. My walking turned into casual running, turned into running half marathons. Then it turned into running marathons. Then it turned into a couple of ultras. And I have a 50 miler in 2 weeks. So it just kept growing. Everything did. So the running just became symbolic of something I can do every day. And if I can continue to challenge myself, well, then why can't I challenge myself in every aspect of my life, including my relationship with my wife, including my relationship with my kids, including my relationship with my grandkids, including my, where do I go from here with my job? How did I even write a book, right? All these ideas came to me as a result of just changing some lifestyle things.
Wow, just kind of like dominoes, one thing after another, just falling, right?
Yeah,
That's
and they're still
crazy.
falling. I mean, I consider myself just at the beginning of this. The book's published, it's out, but it just starting. And my book is all about some of my lessons I learned from my dog that play a role in how I keep myself going every day.
Mm, interesting. So it's a book composed of the lessons that your dog taught you,
Yep.
and that's completely changed your life.
It has.
Wow.
Totally. Transformed my life.
Wow. And now you're running these crazy 50-mile runs. You got the book out. Are you still working at your same job?
I am. So where I've kind of gone to this is there's a gentleman I heard on a. So one thing I did is I canceled my TV subscription, like I said, and I
Mhm.
really started listening to podcasts and books, reading books. So I just changed my inputs. So I had a whole new set of information coming into my head with ideas. And there's one particular gentleman that I heard on a podcast at one point many years ago, a guy named Rory Vaden. And he made this statement. He said that you are best suited to help the person you used to be. And that stuck with me. And that triggered me. Okay, there's a whole country of people, that guy I used to be, overweight, feeling unhealthy, unhappy with life, sitting on the couch every night. How can I help that person? So that's kind of my driving factor, and that really triggered me. Well, let's get some of these ideas that I learned and concepts down in the book. It's not a complicated book. It's a simple book. It's meant to just be an inspiration to somebody that is in that state that I used to be in. So that's kind
Mm.
of what really drove me to get that book going was that changing those inputs.
Nice. I love that too because one of my coaching pillars, I focus a lot on diet with a lot of my clients, and I take it a step above just regular what you're eating, your nutrition. I really focus on building menus for my clients that deals with both meals and the media. So it brings that awareness that you're talking of what you're consuming on a day-to-day basis, and that's including the TV shows, the TikTok, and whatever else, social media and things like that. And it really causes you to do a little audit and then make that choice, like you said. There's the second thing you did, making the choice on are the things that I'm consuming aligned with where I want to be going. So that's perfect. Like lines up just exactly how you're talking there, and I love that. So now I'm guessing a lot of the podcasts and things that you started consuming there was a lot more personal development type things, right? Is that true?
Correct.
Or
Yes.
so was that when your first initial step into kind of personal development and changing life, or have you always kind of been in that world of like optimizing and kind of looking to improve, or was it really just first 50 years of your life and then boom, flip the switch?
I I'd like to say that I was in that personal development world my whole life, but no, I wasn't. You know, for in all honesty, when I hit 50, for 15 years, 16 years, I was not in that space at all. I was just, consumed with, oh, what's the world telling me how I'm supposed to live? What's my job telling me? And everything is blah. And I wasn't reading anything. So I went a long time
Yeah.
without any of this. And I remember when I started doing this, my daughter told me, she says, "Oh, you should listen to this podcast, a guy named Jocko Willing." And I think I replied to her like, "Oh, what's a podcast?" I didn't even know what a podcast was at that time, right? So that was actually one of the first podcasts I listened to was an episode by Jocko Willing in the podcasting world. So,
There you go.
I explored that and I'm like, hey, there's some pretty cool information here. Maybe I can do something with that. So that was my first venture into all of this. And then that led to a whole bunch of other books and other podcasts that I listened to. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a slippery slope, right? Once you get going, it's now you want to consume more of it. You feel like, oh, I can change a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you're the perfect example of it. Just getting moving, and I love that that bringing the dog out for the walk was really the stimulus that got things changing for you, because I totally believe too that just walking is so powerful, and just getting, it's like a gateway drug of personal development, just getting your body moving a little bit. And it's easy to do, but so many people overthink it, and they think, or they're too lazy or whatever it might be. And I believe it so much that I do a step challenge twice a year with a lot of my clients. Just, all right, let's focus on getting those steps up. Let's make a push for the next 3 or 4 weeks or whatever, and really make a commitment to cranking those steps up as much as we can. So I really love that that was the way that you got things into it. So where is Duder at now?
You mean like right at this moment?
Yeah, I thought you were going to bring him on the show.
Oh, he's in the other room. He's over sleeping. He and I went out on a big long run this morning, one of our training runs, and so he's tired, he's resting.
He's resting up. Now, you mentioned the long run you got coming up, and you went out earlier today. So what does your training kind of look like at the moment for the run?
Oh man, this is a 50 miler. This is the longest run that I've done. It's also in the mountains of Utah, with about 11,000 feet of vertical climb. So it's more than just running for 50 miles. There's going to be a lot of vertical climbing up these trails. So my training right now is a combination of, just getting some miles in on the trails, but climbing. I mean, do I use poles? Do I not use poles? I'm experimenting with all of this because the climbing is critical. So this morning, I've laid out a fundamental basic plan. Okay, I want to do this, and I want to do this many miles and this many vertical climb on a daily basis. And I get out and run 6 days a week. I generally rest one day on the weekends. But it's a fairly flexible program, right? One thing I've learned in my running too is this idea that if you put a program in place, a training program that says, okay, you got to run 5 miles today. I've discovered that I have a problem with that. So I've changed the wording of that a little bit. It's not that I'm going to run 5 miles today. I'm going to run at least 5 miles today. If you tell yourself I'm running 5, then you're going to limit yourself. You might have 6 miles in you. You might have 7 miles in you. But if you've already told yourself you're only running 5, well, then that's all you're going to run. And what you tell yourself in your head converts to how your body reacts to this. If I tell myself that I'm going to run at least 5, then my body might say, okay, you got a couple more miles in you. Let's keep going. So that's one thing that there's so many analogies to running to anything in life. And then this comes to if you're building a business, if you're writing a book. If I tell myself, well, I'm going to write for 30 minutes, well, why don't I change my verbiage a little bit to say, well, I'm going to write at least for 30 minutes, at least 30. That way, if I've got more, I'll keep going. It's just a way to open that door up to additional stuff. So.
Oh, I love that too. That's another big quote of mine is I love saying is like, you need to shift the perspective to shape your reality. So you're speaking it into existence right there. Like just shifting your verbiage around a little bit, like you said, really changes it.
Can I add to that right there, Rob?
Yeah, go for it.
As far as perspectives, I'll give you an example of one of the chapters in my book.
Sure.
Early on, after I kind of lost the weight, I'm out hiking with Duder. We're out on a trail. And this is the way the book is written, as I tell these stories of Duder and I out on the trail. And this trail we're on, it's got some trees, it's got some grass growing on the side. And Duder's walking along in front of me, and I'm walking behind him, and I realized that he's down lower than me. His perspective of the trail is very different than mine, standing up here. I literally got down on the trail and started crawling so I could see what the trail looked like from Duder's perspective, right? I wanted to see what it looked like. And it was very different than my view standing up on the trail. The lesson got me thinking about what was my view of the world. Because we can all be sitting in the same place, same circumstances, talking to the same people, yet we've all have a different view of what's going on. So I truly had to explore what was my perspective of the world. What's my view of the world? What's my view of the people around me? What's the view of my wife? What's my view of the kids? Do I really need to change what my perspective of that is? So that's an example of one of the chapters from my book.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty funny that you jumped right down and took it on first hand. Let me check this out, see what it's like. Now, a question from that is, how long were you crawling around for?
Oh, until my knees hurt, and some other hikers were wondering what the heck I was doing crawling around on the trail. So,
Yeah, that must have been pretty funny to see. Oh my gosh. Um, so you were talking about your training program and you kind of have it set up and you kind of shift it a little bit so that that's what you're doing at least. Do you find yourself oftentimes pushing way past what you set out in your plan? And how is that kind of impacting you? Because do you feel like sometimes you might overwork yourself? Does that cause issues for the rest of your training, or is it just kind of go as you feel? Like, okay, this is where I'm gonna kind of be at.
I have found that I can truly go as I feel.
Hmm.
If I'm feeling good, the day before, a few days before, I've had some solid, good nutrition that impacts it. I mean, even what you eat 3 days ago is going to impact my run today, right? It
Oh
really does.
yeah, definitely.
And so if I'm feeling good and my legs are feeling good, then I have not found that I can overdo it. My body will respond to what I tell it to do. It really will.
Hmm.
So if my mind is ready to go and I'm going to run at least 5 miles and I'm going to climb at least 2,000 feet, then I'm ready to go. And my legs and body will respond to that.
Hmm. Now, you say so. You would specifically just touched on nutrition there, and you've lost all this weight. A lot of it's from the running and stuff too, but I imagine you really have changed your whole nutrition outlook on things too, right? Or are you still kind of like what were some of the things that like how were your nutrition and your eating previously, and how has it changed? And because I would imagine that preparing for this race, you got to change it a little bit too, as opposed to what you normally typically eat. Or
Yeah, yeah. Nutrition is just we all know how important it is. What you
Mhm.
are what you eat. I mean, that's what it comes down to. When I started to lose the weight, it was I didn't go into it to lose the weight. I went into this to change who I was, which means I
Mhm.
needed to change some lifestyle aspects. As a side effect, it impacted what I was eating, which then, as a side effect, lost the weight because I was eating different things. I mean, in the past, I mean, I'd go get my 32, 64 ounce Dr. Pepper every day, out to eat fast food all the time. The standard American diet is
Mhm.
ultra processed foods and all of this. And it's the impact on our society is evident. You just look around the grocery store, look around the airport, and look,
Yeah.
it's evident how this diet affects it. For me also, what my diet was had a real impact on my brain and how my brain functioned. And that became very important to me as I changed some of my diet. In most, I'll say the most of the diet came on a ketogenic, very low carb diet. But
Mhm.
I did that for me specifically because I have a history of some neurological stuff. And so the ketogenic low carb really cleared out my brain fog. I mean, it just
Mhm.
opened my brain up. So I actually try to eat a lot right now to support how my brain functions. I really do. The running community, man, you're supposed to do carb loads. You're supposed to eat tons of carbs, 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 carbs. But I don't think that's necessarily required. You can be on a low carb. I'm not on a no carb. I'm just on a lower carb because it helps my brain. I eat a lot of fats and things that will impact how my brain functions. Because if your brain is functioning correct, that helps your discipline to do anything else that you want to do, including your business, including writing a book, including coaching, anything that you want to do in your business. Keep your brain functioning optimally is very important.
Oh yeah. I love that. And so many times people try to I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess like compare themselves to others and about their own diets and things like that. But it really comes down to what works best for you. And a lot of times I like to try to tie in that three little words of like compared to what. So like people saying like, oh, super low carbs compared to what? Like when you were 70 pounds heavier, you're probably eating a lot more of the processed foods and such. So that's compared to your previous person. And however many carbs you're having now, it sounds like it's dialed in and it's helping you with your training, and it's not too much where it's leading to all that brain fog, and now you're able to clearly think more. And what I'm hearing you talk a lot about is the awareness aspect. Sounds like
Oh
you
yeah,
just kind of hit onto this whole new awareness, and keeping your brain functioning and performing at the highest level helps you kind of stay aware of what's going on. I guess if you want to use the brain fog kind of term, the awareness kind of really cleared everything up. So the clear mind and more awareness to everything. So
yep,
that's incredible.
absolutely. Yep, it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. And I really changed my lifestyle. This wasn't about going on a diet to lose weight. This was, I need to change my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I don't even like the term diet because that just implies this temporary thing. Oh, I'm going to go on a diet. Well, if
Mhm.
you want to lose weight, you can't go on you can go on a diet and lose weight. Yes, people do it. But how many of them go back to gaining the weight back? It's because that they went into it with a temporary mindset. They didn't change their circumstances. They weren't aware of their environments and everything that they were eating. And you really have to change your lifestyle so that the weight loss becomes a permanent thing. So
Mhm.
that's important.
Now, let me ask you this though. So, while you were on this journey and you were changing all these different things with your life, were there any opportunities or situations, I guess I would say, that like kind of popped in and you're like, you know what, I gave this a good go, but I'm done. I want to go back to watching some more TV with my ice cream on the couch. Because I know a lot of people, when they try to make these changes, they fall back to the cravings and to the old lifestyle because it is challenging. It is hard to do something different. So how, like, did you have any of that when you were going through the changes and such, or was it just smooth sailing the entire time?
No, I still do. It will never go away. I have 50 years of that old self always nagging at me, always saying, well, let's go get that bowl of ice cream. Let's, even
Yeah.
after a long run, or like if I run a race, like say I run a marathon, I always slip back into this, oh man, I just ran a marathon. I'm going to go pig out and eat whatever I want. So you have it. I don't even like to call it a struggle. It just is my old self always trying to get back in. So how do I keep myself going? And there's tools and techniques to do all of that, right? I have a daily mantra that I read every morning and every night before I go to bed. Helps keep me going. I I have set up, okay, at one point I committed to myself that I'm going to go for a walk every day. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go for a walk every day. That has become my anchor. Now, my daily walk has turned into running,
Hmm.
but that I I spent a lot of time making that so important to me, and it became so symbolic for everything else that I wanted to do. If I don't wake up at 5 a.m. and go for my run, then that is extreme failure for me. So I actually
Mm.
put everything into this daily walk concept, everything. And so I use that as a tool to, okay, well, if I can do this every day, success. I woke up at 5, I went for a walk, success, success, success. That means that I can, when I'm tempted to go eat that bowl of ice cream, I'm tempted to go to Jack in the Box and get that oversized fast food meal. I could tell myself, no, I've already had successful today. If I can do this, then I can do that. So that kind of became an anchor that helps keep me going. And I don't
Mm.
know what's going to happen to me if I don't wake up at 5 and go for my daily walk.
Oh wow! So this has been haven't
I
missed the
haven't
five
missed it.
a.m.
No,
Wow.
I'm up at 5 a.m. every day. I don't even set an alarm anymore. I just wake up at 5. That's just, you do it enough, it just becomes habit. But it became so important, just my anchor, symbolic of everything else. And it just
Yeah.
translated into everything else. That may not work for everybody, but find something. Make your bed every day. Find something that you're going to do every single day.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you were able to find something that you can use as your anchor, because oftentimes I try to go into a lot of habit stacking with people and teaching them to going back to that awareness. What are the habits and things that you do on a typical day to day basis? And where can we anchor some new habits that you want to start doing that you can kind of build off of? And you've got it perfect there with your 5 a.m. wake up and go for the walk. And that was your anchor. And it just made so much more things easy to add on to, because you could always fall back on that with your nutrition and relationships with your family and stuff too. And so that's something that also I want to kind of dive into real quick, if we could. Like, what were some of the major changes? So you said your relationship with your wife was in a terrible spot. You weren't getting along well with your kids and things like that. So how did going for the walk with your dog turn into better relationships with your family and friends and even work too?
It came down to me. Well, let's go back to awareness. One, I became aware that there was some tension in my relationships. And so once you're aware of it, then you can start to, one, make a choice. Well, I need to do something about this. And then why? Why do I want to stay married to my wife? I had to really explore that. What I realized is that it's so easy in relationships to just blame the other person. I mean, that's our natural go-to. Oh, well, you said this and you did that and all this kind of stuff. I took the approach that I needed to own my side of it first. What's my role in this relationship? I was aware that my actions were not good. My response, my reactions to my wife, I refer to her as the blonde in my book, was not good. I was the cause of all of this. So regardless of what she said, did, or does to this day, I still need to own what my role in it is. And what could I and what should I be doing different? So that's kind of how it started. And then that just kind of built on from that. I think it helped that she saw me making a concerted effort to do something different rather than being just the same old guy sitting on the couch every night ignoring her. I was doing things different, so that impacted it. But I had to own it. What's my side? What's my role? What's my role in this? That's where it started. Same with my kids too.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. I mean, this awareness, man, this is powerful stuff when you bring that into perspective of everything, and really just looking at it and just looking for small ways where you can just kind of improve and do things better. And I love that you're taking extreme ownership into that. Is that a book? Have you read that book?
I have, yes.
Yeah, because I was like, dude, you're living it right there.
Yeah.
Really looking at that, and I love that you really own that, because that's something that I've actually consciously started to try to do as well. Like, anytime something kind of happens, how and where can I take ownership of the situation and try to prevent certain things from happening in the future? And there are definitely times where certain things happen where I can't necessarily control or change the outcome of what happened. For example, I'm hosting a client appreciation event this week actually, and 2 days ago, the venue just contacted me and said, "Hey, sorry, we have some internal issues going on, and we can't host your event that day, and we can't commit to anything for a couple of weeks." So obviously, that's a huge bummer. I got like 60 to 75 people I got that just confirmed. What am I going to do? Am I just going to push it back a couple of weeks? If they have a great date, yeah, I'll have it again there. But in the time being, I'm just going to look for a new venue. I'm going to take ownership of this situation so that I can still have this little party for my clients and showing them appreciation. So I had to quickly get on the phone, find a new location, and all squared up. And now we're still hosting the party tomorrow. So it's going to be great.
Very good.
So, yeah. Now, as we kind of go, I want to be conscious of your time. You've got the book out. Where do people go to find it? And how can people stay in contact with you if they have any other questions or even just want to talk to you about how Duder's doing and such?
Duder's doing great. And the best way to find me is on my website, dudeandduder.com. There's a story of where the name Dude comes about too. You know, who's this guy Dude?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that story real quick. One of my chapters is around when Duder first saw himself in the mirror. If you ever seen a dog look at themselves in the mirror the first time, it's kind of a funny experience. You know, they can't figure out what the heck is who that person is. Yeah. And when I was going through my awareness phase here, I would look at myself in the mirror and realized I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who that guy was in the mirror. And I did not like that person that I was looking at in the mirror. So as I started to own my life and making some changes and some significant choices to change my lifestyle, I kept looking at that guy in the mirror, wondering, who is it? And over time, I basically created an alter ego. That's how Dude came about. Dude is my alter ego. Dude is the guy running this 50-mile race. Dude is the guy that lost the race or that lost the weight. Dude is the guy that helped repair the relationship and all this. So I almost had to create this a different person, right? So that when I look in the mirror, I kind of like that guy now. I'm kind of proud of him. You know, he's successful every day. He's doing these things every day. He's changed his life. So that's kind of how Dude came about. So I'm exploring other things of how I can take this. So I've published the book. I have some pretty good content. I'm thinking of putting together some coaching courses. You know, how can, guided worksheets and guided courses to take them through each chapter of the book for people that need to make some significant changes in their life. I'm in the middle of recording the audio version of the book, and I am putting together my plan to start my own podcast called The Power of Dog. I want to explore the impact that dogs have in the world, because I've watched my dog Duder, how he impacted me. But you start looking at, emotional support dogs, seizure dogs. There's organizations that are putting dogs with shelter dogs with veterans and the impact that dogs have in the world. So these are just some things that I'm exploring and slowly putting in place as my little side hustle here. So that's what I'm working on.
No, I love that. And I'm excited to hear the podcast when it comes out. And there's something to it why they call dogs man's best friend. So there's definitely a link there. So I'm excited to hear the different stories and things you're going to share on this show. It's going to be great when that comes out. Now, I do want to be conscious of the time, and before I let you go, I got to ask you, man, you got a lot of these other things going on. You've got all these tips and tricks that your dog taught you. But if you're going to boil it all down, and if you were to give one piece of advice on how to survive the side hustle or how to survive that midlife crisis kind of thing, what would be that number one piece of advice?
Go for a daily walk.
Oh, love it.
I can't emphasize the power of that in so many ways. Make it your anchor. Go outside. Feel the forward momentum. Just watching yourself go forward has an impact. The mental aspect of doing something every day can trigger so many other things that you're going to do every day. So that would be the one piece of advice. Go for a daily walk. I'm not talking a 30-minute walk. Go walk around the block for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, but do it every single day.
Oh, I love that. Jeff, man, you shared a lot of great insights, and I gotta check out the book myself, and I'm very excited for everything else you've got coming on and working on. And thank you so much for taking the time today to hop on here. And everybody, check out the book, dudeandduder.com. You got the podcast, Power of Dog, coming out soon, right? And hopefully some of these coaching courses and workbooks on the rise too. I'm very excited, man. Thank you again so much for coming on.
Thanks, Rob. It was great being here.
Talk to you soon.